Welcome, everyone. I'm David Paparelli, the co-founder of M-Cultivo, and this is The Cupping Table. Over the next few weeks, we will be hearing from some of the best coffee producers in the world. They'll be sharing their stories, insights, and outlook on specialty coffee and what makes their coffee so unique. Unique. My guest today is the Product and Marketing Development Director for Daterra Coffee in Brazil. Daterra is known for pushing the boundaries of coffee production in Brazil, walking a tightrope of large-scale operation that is absolutely obsessed with a focus on quality. So let's welcome Gabriel Agrelli. Welcome, Gabriel.
Thank you very much, David. I'm very happy to be here and share some of our history and some information about this beautiful coffee with you.
Yes, me too. I know our audience is really excited as well. So the first and the most important question, what coffee are you drinking today? Be curious to know.
Well, this morning I had some Aramosa, which is a hybrid of Arabica and Racemosa. It's a very floral coffee with flavors of grapes and honey in the aftertaste as well. I love it. It's really nice, floral, easy to drink. So it's a very good way to start the day. It's early morning in Brazil, so it's been helping me get through the morning. Yeah,
It sounds absolutely amazing. I'm guessing it's a Daterra coffee as well.
it is. It is indeed.
Okay,
It
good.
is. Of
Hey,
course.
good to try other things, but I just have to check.
Well,
Uh,
we do sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, and you're joining us from Brazil, right?
Yes. 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 Right now, I'm not at the farm, but we have an office also in Campinas, which is 1 hour away from São Paulo. So we are in Brazil right now. It's kind of gray outside, which is not usual. It's always blue and sunny over here, but it's our summer. Summer season for us is usually rainy. We can't complain. Rain is good. We need the rain, not too much. Uh, but right now we need lots of water to get the cherries developing well.
Yeah, I was. I'm actually kind of happy because I was expecting blue sky, sunshine, palm trees, that sort of thing from where you were sitting, and your background kind of matches mine in London,
Well,
which
it's still it's 24 Celsius degrees. It's not too bad.
so still some things to be jealous about. Okay,
Exactly.
well let's jump in, Gabriel. So Dateha has, as I said, sort of in the intro, is Dateha has done so much to innovate in Brazilian coffee, and it's a different sort of innovation than we might see in other countries because uh, Brazil is known for commercial volume primarily, right? And you guys are known for quality. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of that friction or that tension being a Brazilian producing quality and what you've had to fight against to get that done?
Sure. Yeah. Well, we started producing coffee over 30 years ago. We actually come. It's a family-owned business. We come from a different kind of business that has nothing to do with coffee. But the family has always been very much connected with social causes, environmental causes here in Brazil since the beginning, and also in the other businesses that are 70 plus years old. And they decided they wanted to invest in agriculture as a way to be able to work alongside with nature and do something that would be sort of restoring nature and creating a positive effect. We tried different things. We tried fruits, we tried cattle, we tried milk. And then we accidentally found coffee. Coffee was not on the plans in the beginning. But when we found coffee, we saw coffee was this very good vehicle for us to achieve that goal of producing an agricultural product that would be restoring the environment at the same time.
Ah,
But then we learned that coffee was a commodity. So prices for coffee, they go up, they go down, and that is a very fragile system. So if we were producing coffee, maybe coffee wouldn't be able to, you know, uh, make enough money to invest in sustainability. But then, this is 30 years ago, we learned that there was something starting in the world called specialty coffee. And then we're like, okay, specialty coffee. Maybe if we do that, we can detach ourselves from the commercial commodities coffee and be able to add value to the product so that we can make it uh, afford this vision of sustainability. So that's how we got into specialty coffee. 30 years ago, we had no idea of how to do that, how to reach that. So I think that this was one of our main challenges in the beginning because we were not coming from coffee. We didn't know how to do coffee, especially specialty. That was something that was quite new. But then this also gave us this freedom of thought, creativity, openness to try different things. So we partnered up from the day one with scientific institutions, agronomic schools in Brazil, universities, researchers, scientists. And we pretty much told them, we have this vision, we want to do a specialty, and we don't know how to do it, but we are open to try everything in a scientific way. So that's probably one of the things that got us into the fast track of achieving quality. That was something that was not common in Brazil from the beginning.
Yeah, and doing something like that, your culture, your context matters, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it was harder to kind of buck that trend in Brazil than other places? Or do you think taking
Yeah.
this sort of alternative approach or mindset was actually such a competitive advantage that it was easier to build an operation like that?
Well, it was super challenging because this is something that didn't exist. Even our employees, people that were from the management team to people on the field, they didn't know how to handle coffee in order to produce quality. And also that didn't even sound as something that was important. I mean, they most of the times we would hear, oh, but we have been doing this for forever. We know how to do coffee, know how to plant coffee, know how to harvest coffee. But then all of these new things, they were kind of more difficult, more complicated, more challenging. So we faced lots of cultural barriers and resistance from people to change their mindset into producing something that was not just coffee. But I think that, well, and I think that a big part of that is Luis, our CEO and visionary. He's still our president. And he was this guy that said he's very stubborn in a good sense. And he kind of he was able to transmit that to people that were working the Terra as our goal, as our mission. And people little by little were joining and, you know, getting into the game of producing coffee that was a specialty. And then when we started exporting coffee, finding customers outside, winning competitions, people start getting, it materializes all the effort that have been putting in producing something that is special. And then little by little, it just resonated with people. And that's what helps us today.
Yeah. How long have you been with Dateha?
15 years.
15 years. So
Yeah.
quite some time. So over that 15-year uh, journey, that history, how has the conversation with the market, customers changed about Brazilian coffee? And sort of what's been your, experience with that?
Yeah, I think that when I joined a specialty, not specialty, but coffee in general, um, we were still in that moment in the industry that there were very clear and divided ideas on how coffee should taste like, how coffee should be processed. So we would always say, oh, yeah, like 101 class on coffee would be Brazil is chocolate and nuts, big volumes, lower quality. Ethiopia is this and this and that. Colombia, brighter acidity. And you would have those rules on how coffee should taste like, depending on where it was coming from. And little by little, producers got more uh, inventive, creative, people started studying more, traveling more. Roasters had a huge importance on that process as well, because we are talking about year 2010. That's probably one like the peak of third wave. Everyone starts traveling to origin. Everyone wants to participate and understand how coffee is really processed, produced, and done. So all these ideas that of different ways to do coffee, different profiles of coffee start getting to origin. People in origin, they start traveling and studying more about coffee. So we start challenging those ideas that coffee from this place should taste like this. Coffee from this place should have that. And nowadays, coffee could be anything and it could come from anywhere because you have developed so much knowledge and techniques in processing. You have uh, done so much in terms of implementing new practices and techniques. And I think that that's exciting as well because we are not dealing with a product that already has stigmas attached to it. We are able to challenge our lands to produce flavors that people would get puzzled with. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you're challenging the industry, you're challenging your land, you're challenging the market to think about Brazilian coffee a little bit differently. Um, is there something that you would say is still uniquely Brazilian about Daterra's coffee, or is it now just a more, as you describe it, just more kind of a global? It's just great coffee, and great coffee can come from anywhere. Where do you feel like Brazil is still tied into the Daterra?
Yeah, I think that the whole idea that Brazil is producing only commercial coffee is something that is kind of outdated already. We know that this has changed a lot. Of course, we are still the biggest producer in the world, and we have lots of big farms in Brazil. But still, if you think about it, 70% of the farms in Brazil, they are actually small farms from family smallholders. So people started to realize that. And even the big farms, even though they are producing huge volumes, everyone is trying to do better. Everyone is trying to implement quality. Everyone is trying to at least produce a coffee that is clean, free of defects, because they understand, we understand that this adds value and the consumer is looking for that. I think that also one of the things that Brazil has evolved a lot is in terms of sustainability,
Yeah,
uh, social awareness as well, working alongside with your workers and community in order to produce a more fair environment for everyone. Of course, there are problems, and sometimes we hear about scandals and things like that, but this has improved a lot in the whole country. So I think that, yes, we started doing this 30 years ago, and this was something that it was not everybody doing. But nowadays, we are proud to see that the whole country has raised the bar, and overall, everyone is doing a good job. Everyone is doing their best to do good coffee, at least with good practices. And then there will be some coffees that are not that great, and some people that are not going to be doing a very good job in terms of social awareness and environment. There is always going to be that. But overall, I think this has improved a lot. And maybe farms like the Terra and others have helped to create this new standard of how coffee production should be in Brazil. So I do think that this is part of Brazilian culture right now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Brazil does so many things well, and coffee has is it's been such a major portion of Brazilian history. It's so good to see, especially industry kind of recapturing that a little bit. I am curious, you are a product and marketing guy for Dateha. You know, there's there's oftentimes sort of Brazil's brand or the country brand is over the producer's brand, right? What I've noticed with Dateha, with your masterpiece collection auctions and the other things you do in the environment, it's not that you're not supportive of Brazil. I think you guys are very much supportive in that way,
Sure.
but it seems more on par. It's like they're more equal. The Dateha's brand and Brazil's brand have equal prominence, You don't deny that you're Brazilian, but you try and exist sort of on your own plateau. Is that
Yeah,
where am I wrong there?
this is very interesting because this is something that I think we were able to create, especially because of the beginning of our history. Because we started off as trying to be someone that was a company that was doing things in a different way, pushing quality, sustainability, and we didn't see that happening in the country. We had to detach ourselves in the very beginning. So
Mm,
our first 10 years were, okay, we're doing what we're doing. We don't care about what our neighbors are doing. We don't care about what other people are doing because we know where we want to get. And that's how we start creating the Terra brand as something that was kind of detached from the Brazilian production because we were not proud of how coffee was produced by then. But then we create this brand, and it's interesting that even our clients, we have distributors for our coffee in different parts of the globe. And then when you see their price lists on their websites, they're gonna be like regular coffee trader or coffee
yeah.
importer price list. Ethiopia, Colombia, Brazil, Daterra, uh, Honduras, Costa Rica. So they actually have inside of their price list a category for the Terra that is a part of Brazil. And we are proud about that because it means that we created a brand that is bigger than the origin itself. Because again, when you talk about a specific origin, there are some stigmas that you have about that origin. And I don't think the Terra represents those stigmas very well anymore because we were able to challenge our lands and to produce something that was different. But I think that, especially more recently, in the last few years, the more Brazil has developed in terms of quality, uh, the more we try to highlight what is beautiful and good about Brazil and to reinforce that, yes, we are a Brazilian farm. And the fact that we are a Brazilian farm means that there are people in Brazil that are doing a great job. And it's not just us. So we embrace that a lot. We embrace that we are from Brazil. But if a roaster wants to buy a Brazil for their portfolio, probably he's not going to look for the Terra because he's going to be
Yeah.
looking for something that is more cost effective, more standard, only the chocolate and the nuts, backbone for espresso. But then if he wants to work as a origin coffee, single or even blend, but highlight where it's coming from, he's going to look for the Terra as a brand, not as a country. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in that you guys have I would assume you guys have detached yourselves from basically the C market altogether, which would be unique in Brazil. I remember when we were buying Brazilian coffee 10, 15 years ago, we might even buy it at a negative differential to the C, not even a positive differential, right?
That's true.
Um, and so you're talking about C market prices driving so much of what happens. It seems in Brazil, and now the C market price hitting record highs. Do you guys feel that at all in Brazil in any way, or are you, like you said, basically your own offering on an offer list? You're not Brazilian. You're Dateha, right? You kind of achieved that segmented product, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, so when we started this whole process of increasing quality, uh, it took us 10 years in order to be able to restore the farm, invest in equipment, invest in structure, and then say, okay, yes, we are producing specialty and we are doing that consistently. That's the moment that we start exporting our coffee. And that's, by the way, the moment that we release our vacuum packs for coffee, which is our Penta box. That was the first farm in the world to start packing coffee in vacuum and inert gases back in 2003. People said we were crazy because coffee has always been exported in jute. Why changing? This costs too much. But we wanted to create those elements that, of course, had a meaning increasing quality, keeping shelf life, but also it was a message for the market. This is something else. This is not a commodity. So at that moment, we said, you know what? We are not selling commodity anymore. So we are not going to be fixing prices and selling by under differentials. So from that moment, we already sent to our clients a price list with fixed prices. And people were like, what is that? We don't want that. We want to work how we have been working since coffee is a commodity. And we said, okay, we understand, but we are not selling commodity. This is a specialty coffee that we are able to supply every year. We have a menu of coffees. This is coming in special packaging. So right from now onwards, we are going to sell only under fixed prices. And okay, but you are determining the prices. Yes, because we know our costs of production. This is the cost. This is how much we need as a margin because we need money to reinvest in the business, to keep increasing quality, to invest in stability, and we need profit. So this is the price. But what if the market goes down? This is going to be the price.
Mm.
What if the market goes up? This is going to be the price. So we changed that rational. And of course, there were moments that the market would go down. People would come after us and say, no, we need to go down. No, that's the price. And also there were moments the market was going up and we were still honoring our prices and keeping them where they were. So every year in the beginning of the crop, we would define the prices and send the price list because that's the price list for the crop that was paid in advance, right? So it changed. It took some time to change people's mindsets on that, but then people started realizing that this is a fair, more stable way of buying and selling coffee, and we have been doing this for over 20 years now. So
Wow.
right now, almost 100% of our coffees are sold only under fixed prices, even for the lower level specialty and even for some of the commercial coffees as well, because it's fair. We know our costs, we know our margins, and this is the price as any industry, as any product is sold. So that's how we have been working. So even though the prices are crazy right now for the buyer, uh, we of course are looking at that, but we are not using this as the single driver to make our prices go up. We have priced those coffees back in June when the market was like much lower
Yeah.
than what it is right now. And we are honoring those prices because they are very good prices. They are paying our bills. And then when the market goes down, we're going to keep the prices probably around the same levels. And our partners understand they need to support us because they are not buying commodities anymore. Does it make sense?
Yeah, yeah, and I always find it so fascinating when this sort of is speaks to maybe the maturity of Dateha and the team at Dateha to be able to hold strong on these fixed prices, these long-term relationships, these long-term contracts, and sort of work in that manner. There's this power of no, right, in business. But when you're just starting something, you really are trying to say yes to everything because you're trying. I mean, in your case, you're trying to sell
Yeah.
coffee, trying to get the farm off the ground. All revenue, all cash in the door is good. I mean, that's a really good thing. But you don't want to lose focus on who you are and what you do, and you want to build a sustainable business. Were you put in a position where you really had to say just no to some customers and lose some customers to kind of find your focus in a new market? And did you see that evolve in that way?
Yeah. We say no to people all the time, especially because we have relationships. That's the first reason why we're going to say no to people. We have specific distributors that work with our coffee in different markets. So if we have already a partner that is being building our brand and carrying our coffee in a specific market, and someone else wants to buy coffee from us, we cannot take that new customer because that's something that would break some relationships. So people have to buy from that previous existing relationship. We understand that sometimes you lose an opportunity of selling more, but at the same time, you gain other opportunities. You create an extension of you somewhere else in the world. That company that is carrying your coffees, they become so proud of being the sole partner carrying that product in that market. They will really challenge themselves to be able to carry the stories, to really be the Terra there. So that's something that we have been doing through the years. And right now, one of the main reasons why we're saying no to people is because we are able to sell everything out. Uh, it's been many years that we are able to sell our whole crop in 3 months only after it's harvested and finished. Even if our coffees are sometimes more expensive, even if the market's so volatile, that's because really people trust the brand, people trust the sustainability, and they want to secure and make sure they're going to have the Terra for the next season. So lots of people are coming to us and asking for coffee, but right now we are not able to expand and open new ones. So instead of selling more, we are looking towards selling better to companies that share the same values, to companies that care about sustainability, to companies that care about quality, and people that will be able to really carry everything that we are doing here, because it's a lot of work, down to the final customer so that
Ah,
he's willing to pay more. And then we create this sustainable supply chain for coffee that really cares about every single piece of the process of the supply chain.
yeah. I mean, you guys are in such a unique position where you can, almost select the customers that qualify to steward the coffee that's being produced on your land all the way through to the final customer, right? Where most people are kind of, we need to sell coffee,
Yeah.
get paid for the coffee, and then where the coffee goes, I don't know, and I don't really care
Yeah.
very much. You see
I,
where it
I,
goes.
I think, David, just to say something on that, it, it might sound, uh, a little bit like, oh my God, they are choosing the clients. Uh, but it didn't happen in one day. It
That's
was a
right.
construction of 10 years only investing in quality and sustainability. Another 10 years only investing in relationships. So if you think about it, it was 20 years trying to get to this moment
Yeah.
and then being very, having our vision very clear and being very transparent with people and really knowing what were our do's and don'ts, what we would accept or not, being very strong about those things so that now we are in this position. But it took us 20 years. So now it's navigating through that, but there were some storms that we had to face during those periods so that we could be here.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that. Yeah, but it is funny. People see the Teja or really any other business or venture, and they'll say, "Oh, overnight success," right? And you're like, "Well, no, 2 decades worth of work became then an overnight success. I guess you could call it in that way, right?"
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll talk about some of the challenges you guys have gone through. um, a lot of folks have seen what has been in the news about Brazil over the last 3, 4 years. I think 3, 4 years probably plus, where it's, in coffee specifically, you're talking about hail, you're talking about frost, you're talking about flooding, you're talking about drought, you're talking about labor issues, right? Yeah, all of these things are kind of converging on Brazil to the point where you have some producers in Brazil actually buying land in areas where they believe is safer from climate proof, we can call it, right? That
Exactly.
sort of thing. They're thinking that far in the future. You guys have invested so heavily in research and development, partner with universities, as you said, academic
Yeah.
institutions. You actually, on your last auction, I love this, donated the proceeds from the auction to academic scholarships for scientists, right? An
Yeah.
amazing thing. Tell us about how this obsessive focus on research and development has helped you guys kind of literally weather these storms, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I guess that the only reason why we were able to get to where we got was because we had this very clear idea that science and research would be the path for reaching this vision and this goal. So we have used research institutions, scientists, and of course they were our partners. We were working together for decades. And then when we look at the coffee industry and how much it has evolved, everyone uh, owes that to a scientist, to a researcher, to an institution that is formed by people that have been studying coffee, that have been studying the challenges that we face, that have been looking for better ways to do things, but we don't know about them. We don't ever think about them. We think about the plant, the varietal, the farmer, the roaster, the barista, but what about the people that actually have been investing 20, 30 years of research inside of a lab or a agronomic, a genetics research institution in order to produce a new varietal, a cultivar that is able to strive climate change, produce more, produce better? We don't think about these people. So they are our invisible heroes that are somewhere and we don't talk about them. So this year, um, like 2024, actually last year, we have been coming from many years of difficulties and challenges in terms of weather, in terms of labor, in terms of everything that you already mentioned all of that. But especially 2024, this has been one of the toughest years we have ever had since we started coffee over 30 years ago. We had the highest temperatures that were ever recorded in our lands. And this was not exclusive to us. This was actually happening in lots of parts of Brazil.
Ah,
We had the longest drought that we have ever faced over the dry season. So if we actually didn't have one single drop of rain for 170 days, that's half
wow.
a year without rain. Of course, we have irrigation. We are able to navigate through that because we have invested
Yeah.
in techniques and things and structure that will allow us to navigate through all of that. But lots of people are struggling right now because they don't have those means, unfortunately. So when it when it came to to the end of the season, the 2024 crop, and we look it back, we just had this huge sense of gratitude that we were able to make it. So even with all the odds, even with all the challenges, we were able to make it. And not only make it, but produce coffees that were just tasting incredible, outstanding, because one day we have invested in research. One day we have brought in universities and scientific institutions and connected with these researchers. And then we said, okay, you know what? These coffees that we have produced, they're not ours, they're theirs. And we need to use these coffees as a way to tell to the world that they exist, they are important, and we have to invest in research and innovation more than ever to keep coffee existing. So that's how we decided all the proceeds from the auction, they would be donated for research. So we are paying scholarships for students that will be studying and researching coffee here in Brazil. And also we selected 15 of the most important researchers, and there are many that were not on the list, but we had to make a sieving process there, and we selected 15 of them in different fields: climatology, genetics, microbiology, soil, everything coffee. And we named each of our coffees uh, as one of them, paying homage after one of them. And we also gave them a prize in honor to their work. We thought that most of them would be deceased already, but when we finalized the list of researchers, we realized that from the 15 names, actually 13 of them were still alive.
Wow. Yeah.
So that actually means that the most important years of coffee science, they were actually the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Those were the years that we have developed most of the important things that everyone knows and follows in coffee production around the world. So they were all Brazilian researchers. We were super proud because we were actually able to just gather all of them together in a beautiful event to celebrate and say thank you. But yeah, I think that this celebrates research, but also makes a statement that we should be investing more in research because the challenges are only going to get bigger in the future. Climate's
Yeah.
not going to be easier. Uh, it's not going to get cooler. The extremes are going to happen. So we need to know how to face it. So science is the way to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's so much focus on, and maybe this is a through line to this podcast series because it seems to come up every single interview. But it's this focus on art in the marketing and the promotion end of coffee. People want this kind of journey, narrative, story of coffee that is more creative and has more art in it. When in reality, I think what's so interesting is Dateha does a great job of kind of blending all that marketing promotion, that story of from the earth, right, from the land, and that's where we're going to return. Um, to kind of saying actually a lot of this production is more science. That's how we do get consistency and quality. It's not by accident. And so,
Yeah.
in these, I would be interested. This is just more curious on this question than anything else. Really tough year, a lot of drought. Really long drought, as you mentioned last year. Um, in the cut profiles that you guys produced, did you find that stress on the plants actually produced a better cut profile? And are you taking those learnings forward?
Yeah. It was an interesting year because some of the varietals that we usually would say they taste amazing, like Lorena. The Terra Lorena has been one. We sometimes say Lorena is our geisha because it has been our highlight for many years, many auctions. We won the World Brewers Cup Championship with Emi Fukuhori using our Lorena in 2018. But this year, the Lorenas, they were not standing out as much. Usually in our auction, we would have like 4 or 5 lots of Lorena. This year, we only had two. And most Lorenas this year, they were not tasting that amazing. But Lorena is not a varietal that was selected or developed to strive through adverse climatic conditions. But on the other hand, there was this new varietal. Actually, it's not really a varietal, it's a selection that we have done in the Terra with researchers. We called it Celsi, uh, and it's genetics that displays lots of features that will resist drought and some diseases as well. This year, it was amazing. So 4 coffees in our auction, they were actually made from these new genetics that we never had. It was producing for the first time this year. So in our most complicated year, we have this new material coming up and just like dazzling everyone. Um, and again, just reinforcing how much research is important because this has started decades ago. And
Yeah.
it's coming up now and showing these great results. So we saw lots of fluctuations, lots of things that were not tasting amazing this year. Lots of things that usually would taste amazing that were not tasting amazing this year. So we sort of had to be able to screen through that and understand this whole new scenario that we had. So yeah, I think that this is gonna be one of the main abilities we're gonna have to have in the future in order to be able to find those jewels in the middle of our plantations and keep producing amazing coffee. But that's okay. We have 70 new genetics growing in the field. They're not even producing right now, all in partnership with different research institutions and scientists. So there will be more coming up in the future.
Yeah, I mean, a 10-year investment to get an amazing cup of coffee after all that time, where the stars just kind of align on the right weather, the right soil, the right
Yeah.
everything to get it there. It's sort of incredible. You guys seem to have taken an approach of having a diverse portfolio of coffee plants, right? Of
Yeah.
varieties. Um, and I'm interested to dig into that a little bit more. No pun intended. Some producers that we've talked to will say, "Hey, what I do is I do primarily washed geisha. Yes, we tinker a little bit, but a very small amount of production we tinker with. The market really finds us. So people like what we do. They come to us. If they don't like what they do, they go to another producer. How do you guys think about this R&D, not from labs and scientists and all that, but actually in your operation in terms of how much time and resource do you commit every single year to trying to do things that are just different that might completely fail or have a high chance of completely failing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would say that 80% of the research that we do actually fails, and that's a result. So when talking about, you're not talking about experimentation, talking about research. Research means you have a hypothesis. You're gonna try to prove that hypothesis is right or wrong, find out something about that, and then by the end of the process, maybe the result is negative. But even if the result is negative, that is also a result. So that means your research was successful, even though the result is not what you were expecting. But if you're not open to that, uh, you are never going to find something different. You're always going to be following someone or copying someone in order to do something that is outstanding. Um, so right now in the Terra, we have sort of made calculated how much of our coffee planted area is actually involved in some kind of research, either for soil, sustainability, quality, genetics, and all of that. So from our whole area of the Terra, almost 40%
Wow.
is engaged in some kind of research. That's over 500 hectares of land because we are
Wow.
a big farm, by the way. And I think that it's a big privilege that we have to talk about. The fact that we are big makes us able to afford to break coffee in order to find out something.
Uh,
And we never have this approach of this is what we do. And if people don't like it, you're going to have to find things somewhere else. We are the opposite. How can we interact with our land? How can we challenge our plants into producing something that is aligned to what we like and what the market likes? So we have this project, for example, called Our Plot of the Terra. We invite a handful of roasters that are very picky and research driven to come to the farm, and we give them 1 hectare of land. So this is for you to research coffee with us.
wow.
So we have roasters like Coffee Collective, The Barn, Toby's Estate, uh, joining this project with us. And we're going to research together processing, agricultural techniques, soil, lots of different things. Right
Uh,
now, it's 14 different roasters from different parts of the globe that are joining us in that project. And because this is not a marketing project, it's not a sales project, by the end of the process, if they don't want to buy the coffee, it's okay. You
wow.
know,
Okay.
most of the times when you have a farmer doing a research or experimentation project with a roaster, by the end of the process, the roaster buys the coffee, regardless of the
No matter
result,
what.
if it's
Yeah.
good or
Yep.
bad. Don't do that because we really want to tell them this is research. You guys are traveling the world. You guys are understanding how coffee is processed and produced in different places. You are seeing what the client is looking for. So come to the farm and let's write a research project together, and that's how we get a grasp on what the market's looking for firsthand before it even becomes a trend. and we already bring that to the field. So, we are not saying, oh, here's what we have produced, please buy it. We are saying, okay, come here and let's develop something together. The first anaerobics that we have developed, they were one of those researches. This was in 2014 with Café Lomi in France. They came down to us and they said, hey guys, there is this wine producing area in France that is doing a process called carbonic maceration. Why don't we try that with coffee? And I thought this would really taste bad when I heard about it.
Yeah.
And in that year, it was the best coffee I have ever tasted in my life because those flavors didn't exist in coffee yet. So
Wow. And that came from the idea came from a roaster bringing it
it
to you.
came from the idea, the research came from a roaster mimicking, like trying to uh, replicate something that was done in wine. So Daterra was one of the first farms to start doing anaerobic 11 years ago because of that. And now
Wow.
people even got tired of anaerobic. But back then, those were flavors that were not existing.
Yeah.
There were other farms doing similar things back then. We learned about that later, but we didn't copy anyone. It was just this crazy idea from a roaster that we applied to research. And we told him, if the coffee tastes horrible, you don't have to buy it. It's our investment in research.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, when you started telling the story, I was like, this is a great way for producers to distribute risk, right? Because you're taking a ton of risk, taking something to export, producing coffee, and if a roaster comes in, there's buy-in. No, we don't want any money, but we want to partner with you on this lot, meaning there's some sort of commitment level. But you giving them the freedom to buy or not buy is actually kind of brilliant because it frees them up to think of kind of crazy ideas like carbonic
Exactly.
maceration.
The
Try them
moment,
with you,
yeah, the
and
moment you
there's
say you have to buy it, you already start limiting
they
your
want to reduce
creativity.
their risk. Yeah,
Exactly. But
it
again,
is.
it's a pledge. It's only because we are big that we are able to do that. Uh,
Mm.
I wouldn't expect a roaster to have that kind of approach with a 5 hectare farmer in Colombia.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
mean, but in the same way, I would assume there's a relational psychology to it too, where they feel more attached to Dateha. You've given them this amazing gift. They appreciate that. They get to visit the farm. They're incentivized to come visit the farm, fall in love
Yeah,
again with Dateha again. And then even if they don't buy that coffee because it kind of turns out terrible, I would assume that you still have a lifelong customer. So it's sort of this almost reverse psychology of
yeah,
building just a good relationship, just to say,
yeah,
hey, I'm going to give you this gift and we're going to work together on this. And that's how we become, that is what a relationship is. We work together on things.
yeah. It grows. It grows on other things. It
Yeah.
unfolds in other projects. It unfolds into a bigger relationship. Maybe they end up buying other coffees from us. Yes.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, that is really interesting. So I do want to get to the auction that we are doing with you guys.
Yeah.
So this is, I would love your take on this because I don't think I've gotten it yet, Gabriel. So let's talk about this. So this is a first of its kind auction, to my knowledge, which is going to be called the Dubai Coffee Auction. So we'll be auctioning off coffees live and then online in a more traditional auction format. Um, and it's producers all over the world. So 9 different countries represented. I think 11 producers represented. So some of the best producers in each one of those countries, all on the same cupping table. I've cupped through them now 3 times. Amazing. Such a fun experience. Incredible to have the Teja involved in this. What made you guys want to be a part of this event?
I think this is a great idea to start with. Uh, really, we see all these private auctions and all these country auctions or certification related, but then really having EU guys that are working with coffee auctions from all over the world, curating farms and coffees into one single auction with the all stars. Uh, that when I heard about it the first time, I was like, this is really cool. I think people go crazy about that. And then when we realized you were actually inviting us to be part of that, personally, talking about this long journey of going from just a Brazilian farm into a company that is recognized for quality and all, it's an achievement for us. So it's not a certification, another one. It's not something, it's not a award, but it's really fulfilling because being displayed in this auction alongside with these great coffee farms that we admire so much, that are doing a great job in quality as well, for us is a huge achievement. So it's a milestone. It's something that we will always remember. So first of all, I want to thank you guys very much for considering us and inviting us to be part of this. Uh, and now talking as a Brazilian, imagining Brazil being featured in this platform among the best farms of the world, that's something that nobody would think it was true 20 years ago, 30 years ago in coffee. So it's really something that makes us proud. So we want to represent Brazil and the Terra with one of our best coffees so we can help transmitting this message that yes, our country is able to produce coffees that will shine as much as all these other coffees from these beautiful origins that are in this beautiful project.
The coffee that you guys submitted to this auction is a natural anaerobic geisha, I believe. So
Correct.
beautiful Brazilian coffee. But as you said before, it is something that you would usually think of reading the first part of that, natural anaerobic geisha, and you might think Panama or Colombia or Guatemala. Tell us a little bit about this coffee lot.
Yeah. We have been researching geisha in the Terra for many years, and we did select some lineages of geisha that work for our climate, for our terroir, because geisha comes all the way from Ethiopia, produced uh, in a very different circumstance, altitude. It traveled around the world, and different lineages of geisha are existent in different countries. So maybe the geishas that we produce here in the Terra, they are very different from the geishas from Ethiopia, from the geishas from Panama, from the geisha that someone got seeds in Colombia. So we say geisha, but in a way, that's the interpretation of geisha that translates that terroir as well. So our geisha is very different from what you would find in Panamanian geishas, for example. Uh, it's a coffee. We usually say that our geisha, like Panamanian geishas, usually they have this beautiful apricot and very delicate floral note. Our geisha usually is more on the herbal tea flavor. It has the florals, but it also has a little bit of herbal tea. In some of our geishas, sometimes we get people saying matcha or mate or black tea, that
Yeah.
kind of flavor. And when you do it anaerobically as a natural, it really brings up the tropical fruit notes that are very Brazilian as well. So we often find lots of mango, papaya, uh, there is the apricot as well and the peach sometimes, but it's more tropical
Yeah.
with this floral herbal note that is very specific from our geisha specifically. So this lot is a natural anaerobic lot. It's fermented for 72 hours. So it's not a super long fermentation. It's not short as well, but not super long, and it's from the plot BV151, which is one of our geisha plantations here in the Terra. Our production of geisha is still quite small compared to the whole the Terra. The Terra produces coffee in 2,800 hectares of land, but
Wow.
our production of geisha is still only 5 hectares. So
Okay. Yeah.
it's a small area inside of the Terra. And then as flavor profiles, if I could go into those, this coffee specifically has this the Terra Geisha flavor of like tropical fruits, like papaya. It has some tropical yellow fruits as well, like pineapple. It has some orange. And then as it cools down, what I think really interesting about it, it develops this note of watermelon and melon with a honey sweetness as well. And then it has these floral flavors of white blossoms and herbal tea notes and a sweetness that would remind of peach syrup. So it's a quite interesting coffee.
Yeah, I would say cupping the coffee, all of that is accurate. The tea note really stands out. I notice when people cup through it, which is super interesting because you wouldn't expect that with Brazilian coffee. But it's an amazing coffee. It is incredibly unique. I think knowing now, I didn't know this before that it's only 5 hectares of geisha that you guys grow. Considering the size of your operation, I would have thought it'd be much more. Now it's like, oh, well, this
Yeah,
is actually a really low quantity that comes out of the Daterra. So I'm excited about that too.
yeah. We just planted a new geisha area, so that's gonna increase in the near future. So they're not producing yet those trees, but there will be 11 hectares more coming in the future. So hopefully we're gonna have more of these beautiful geishas coming to the market as well.
I'm super excited about this. Well, if anybody wants to try this amazing natural anaerobic geisha from Daterra from Brazil, I'm going to add Brazil in there, even though you're your own line on your offering sheet. Um, you can try it live in person at Dubai World of Coffee on February 10th and 11th. The live auction occurs on February 11th, and then we'll be having a follow up as well that we'll talk to you guys about really soon. So please ping us. You can also buy a sample set to try to Teja alongside, these other 15 amazing coffees from all over the world. It is a unique experience. And just, hey, Gabriel, thank you so much for your partnership. Thank you for the
Thank you.
relationship. Thank you for working together with us on this. And, being really a leader in the specialty coffee space, but not just a leader in the sense that you guys are forging a way, but a leader that is good enough to kind of build a community around you to kind of grow this high specialty space into what it really deserves to be over the next years.
Thank you very much, David. Really honored to be part of this. Congratulations to you guys for putting together this beautiful project. Really excited about what's going to come up from this.
Absolutely. All right. We will talk to you all soon.